I want you to take a breath, just one long, slow breath, and let the rest of the world fall away. Forget the noise, the expectations, and the ghosts of whatever didn't work out. I'm speaking to you right here in this quiet space where it's just us. Have you ever wondered why we spend so much time guarding our hearts, building walls out of the very bricks we meant to use for a home? We treat love like a battlefield, always anticipating the impact, always waiting for the moment we'll need to retreat. The greatest act of courage wasn't in winning the fight, but in laying down your armor entirely. I've learned that love isn't something you chase or something you hunt. It is a mirror. It shows you exactly who you are, especially the parts you've been too afraid to acknowledge. It requires you to be raw, to be untethered, and to be brave enough to be seen in your most imperfect light. Love isn't just the dream. It's the courage that makes it real. If you are ready to stop hiding and start living, I have something to share with you. Are you willing to look in the mirror with me? We spend so much of our lives curating versions of ourselves that we think are worthy of being loved. We edit our stories, we soften our edges, and we hide the shadows, thinking that if someone saw the entirety of our landscape, they might turn away. But here is the truth I've never told anyone. True connection doesn't happen in the highlight reel. It happens in the quiet, messy, often inconvenient spaces where we finally stop pretending. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you aren't just showing someone your weaknesses. You are extending an invitation to their soul to come and rest. It is the most terrifying thing you will ever do, but it is also the only way to invite another human being to see you, truly see you, for the miracle that you are. Have you ever sat with someone and felt that sudden sharp realization that you don't have to perform anymore? That the mask can just slide off and you can breathe? That is the beginning of everything. Vulnerability is the foundation, but it is also for the architecture. It is how we build a home that is capable of weathering the storms that life inevitably brings. Without it, we are just roommates in each other's lives, polite acquaintances sharing a space, but never really sharing a life. It requires patience. It requires presence. It requires us to show up, even when our knees are shaking, even when every instinct tells us to close the door and lock it tight. But why are we so afraid? Perhaps it's because we've been hurt, or because we've seen love crumble under the weight of expectations. I understand that fear. I have felt that same hesitation, that cold pull in the chest that whispers, stay safe, stay small, keep them at a distance. But look at me when I say this. Keeping love at a distance only ensures that you remain lonely. If you want to be known, you have to be willing to be hurt. If you want to be loved, you have to be willing to be seen. It's a trade-off that feels impossible until you realize that the alternative is a life lived in monochrome. This is where everything I thought I knew changed for me. I used to think that strength was about holding it all together, about being the one who didn't crack under pressure. I wore that stoicism like a suit of armor, believing it made me impenetrable. But all it did was make me unreachable. People could see me, sure, but they couldn't touch me. And there is a profound, aching difference between being seen and being touched by another soul. When I finally dared to let my guard down, when I allowed myself to speak of my fears and my quiet, unformed dreams, the world didn't end. In fact, it grew larger. The people around me, they didn't look at me with pity. They looked at me with recognition. They had been hiding too. What if you could trust again? Not just trust that someone won't hurt you, because we can never guarantee that, but trust that you are strong enough to survive whatever comes. That is the vulnerability I'm talking about. It isn't weakness. It is the ultimate form of power. It is the decision to remain soft in a world that is constantly trying to harden you. It's a rebellion. It's an act of defiance against the cynicism that tries to convince us that everyone is out for themselves. But you know that isn't true. You know that at our core, we are all just looking for someone to hold the mirror up to our best selves. Before you go, hear this one thing. You don't have to change who you are to be worthy of this. You don't need to be polished or successful or fixed before you let someone in. Love is not a reward for being perfect. It is the grace you find when you are perfectly, beautifully broken. Think about the people who have changed your life. Did you love them because they were flawless? No. You loved them for their laugh, for the way they looked at the stars, for the way they apologized when they were wrong, for the way they let you see their own uncertainty. You loved them because they were real. And that is exactly what makes you lovable too. We are taught to believe that love is measured in grand gestures, in the promises we make for some distant, imagined future. We build cathedrals out of words, swearing that we will be there forever, that we will never leave, that we will fix every broken part of one another. And while there is beauty in that hope, there is a dangerous trap in relying on the future to justify our feelings. The truth is, love doesn't live in the someday or the next year. Love lives in the mundane, in the rhythm of a shared Tuesday evening, in the simple, quiet act of being present. If you aren't there for the small moments, all the grand promises in the world will eventually ring hollow. I want you to really think about this. When was the last time you were truly, completely, unreservedly with someone? Not just sitting next to them while your mind is racing through your to-do list or worrying about what you need to say next, but actually there. There is a profound stillness that comes when you stop trying to project your love forward and start pouring it into the current moment. It's in the way you listen, not to respond, but to understand. It's in the way you look at them while they're talking about something that doesn't even matter, and you realize that the most important thing happening in that moment is the fact that they are alive and they are here and you are witnessing it. But here is a confession I need to make. I struggled with this for a long time. I was always chasing the horizon, thinking that if I could just get to the next goal or finish the next project, I would finally be able to sit down and be present. I thought presence was a luxury reserved for people who didn't have anywhere else to be. I was wrong. Presence is a discipline. It is a choice you make every single morning to put down the weight of the past and the anxiety of the future, and to stand firmly in the grace of the now. Have you ever felt the weight lift when someone just chooses to be with you without needing to change anything about you? It is a quiet power, this ability to hold space. It doesn't require us to be superheroes. It doesn't require us to have all the answers. It simply requires us to be awake. When we are fully present, we stop using our partners or our friends as props in our own stories, and we start seeing them as the protagonists of their own. That is where intimacy begins. It's not about finding someone who completes you. I don't believe in that. I believe in finding someone who is whole, just as you are whole, and choosing to walk beside each other. Two whole people choosing to share their light. Doesn't that feel like a breath of fresh air compared to the heavy, suffocating idea of needing someone to save you? Think about the silence between us right now. It isn't empty, is it? It's full of everything we haven't had to say because we can feel it. That is the texture of presence. It is the language that transcends the need for explanations. We spend so much energy trying to justify our existence, trying to convince the world we are worthy of space. But in the presence of someone who truly loves you, you don't have to justify anything. You just exist, and that existence is more than enough. It is beautiful. It is enough. But let's be honest with each other, because that is the only way this works. Remaining present is hard. It is infinitely easier to stay in our heads, to overthink, to pull away when things get too real. Distraction is our most common defense mechanism. We reach for our phones, we bury ourselves in work, we find a million reasons to be busy. But what if that busyness is just a way of protecting ourselves from the vulnerability of truly being seen? What if we are so afraid of what we might find if we actually sat still with someone that we would rather be anywhere else? I've had to learn this the hard way many times over. I've missed moments of absolute transcendent connection because I was too preoccupied with who I wanted to be instead of who I actually was. I've lost people because I wasn't there when I was standing right in front of them. It's a painful realization, but it's a necessary one. It is the only way to grow. We have to learn to let go of the need to control the outcome of a moment and just let it happen. We have to learn to trust that if we show up completely and honestly, that will be enough. Before you go, I want you to challenge yourself on this. Today, find one moment, just one, where you can stop the clock. Don't worry about the promise of tomorrow. Don't worry about the ghosts of yesterday. Just be there. Look at the person in front of you, or look in the mirror at yourself, and see the reality of this exact second. It is fleeting, it is fragile, and it is entirely wonderfully yours. Will you try that with me? Will you commit to being here fully and truly, even when it feels like the hardest thing in the world? We have spoken of vulnerability as the architecture and presence as the ground beneath our feet, but there is a deeper resonance to be found, the space where two spirits align. I have come to believe that love is not just a destination or a feeling we fall into. It is a shared horizon. It is the realization that while we are individuals, complete and whole in our own right, there is a specific kind of magic that occurs when our paths weave together toward a common light. Have you ever stood next to someone and felt as though you were finally looking at the same map, seeing the same beauty in the distance? That is where trust deepens into something unbreakable. But here is a confession. I spent a long time fearing that shared purpose meant losing myself. I thought that to walk with someone else, I would have to compromise the shape of my own soul, to sand down my ambitions until I fit into their life, or they into mine. It felt like a cage. I didn't understand then that real connection doesn't demand sacrifice of the self. It demands the expansion of it. When you find someone who challenges you to be the best version of who you already are, you aren't being asked to change, you are being invited to grow. Think about the people who have left the deepest marks on your life. Were they the ones who agreed with everything you said, who mirrored your complacency? No. They were the ones who saw your potential when you were too tired to see it yourself. They were the ones who held the mirror up and said, "I see the fire in you, and I am here to help you tend it." That is the essence of a true partnership. It is not about walking in lockstep. It is about knowing that no matter how far you wander on your own individual paths, there is a gravitational pull that brings you back to the same shared truth. There is a vulnerability in this, too. To share your purpose is to show someone the blueprint of your dreams. It is saying, these are the things that make my heart beat faster. These are the causes I care about. These are the fears I am trying to overcome. It is the most intimate exposure of all. It is one thing to show someone your scars. It is quite another to show them the map of where you are trying to go. But what if you could trust again, not just in their affection, but in their commitment to your light? What if you realized that their growth is not a threat to your own, but a testament to the space you are creating together? But let's pause for a moment. Look at me when I say this. If you feel like you have to dim your light to keep someone by your side, you are not in a partnership, you are in a negotiation. And love should never be a trade. It should be an overflow. It should be two cups, both full, touching in a way that makes both of them more vibrant. Have you ever felt that even for a moment? That sudden, startling clarity that you don't have to carry your ambitions alone, that there is someone who delights in your success as much as they delight in their own. It is the most liberating feeling in the world. I remember a time when I thought I had to be the hero of my own story, the lone traveler crossing the desert with nothing but my own resolve. I wore that pride like a cloak. But the desert is vast and the nights are cold, and eventually the silence becomes deafening. It wasn't until I allowed someone to walk beside me, to share the weight, to share the silence, to share the vision, that I realized how much I had been missing. I wasn't just losing my solitude, I was gaining a witness to my life. And there is nothing more profound than having someone who truly witnesses the unfolding of who you are. This is where the mirror comes back to us. If love is a mirror, then your purpose is the light you shine into it. The person you love is not just looking at you, they are looking at the way you reflect the world. If you are living a life that is small and fearful, that is what they will see. But if you are living a life that is bold, curious, and rooted in deep, honest intention, that is the reflection they will cherish. You are the architect of your own impact, and the right partner will not only stand in your light, they will add their own to it, creating a brilliance that neither of you could have achieved in isolation. Before you go, I want you to ask yourself, what is the vision I am holding for my own life? Am I protecting it, or am I inviting others to see it? Do not be afraid to be large. Do not be afraid to have a mission that feels bigger than you. The right people, the ones who are meant to share that journey, will not be intimidated by your scale. They will be inspired by it. They will be the ones who help you carry the torch when your arms grow tired. Does that thought scare you, or does it feel like coming home? We often treat time like an enemy, a thief that steals the moments we want to hold on to and drags us toward futures we aren't ready to face. We are so obsessed with the when will I find the one? When will I be settled? When will everything finally click into place? We rush, we scramble, we force doors that were meant to remain closed, all because we are terrified that if we wait, we will somehow miss our turn. But here is the confession I've struggled to accept. Love, true love, has its own internal clock. It does not answer to our deadlines, and it certainly does not move faster just because we are anxious. There is a strange, quiet alchemy in patience. When you stop trying to dictate the timing of your life, you start to notice the rhythm of the world around you. Have you ever realized that the best things, the moments that truly defined who you are, never happened when you were gripping the steering wheel the tightest? They happened when you finally surrendered, when you let go of the how and the when, and just trusted that the path was already unfolding. It requires a radical amount of trust, I know. It requires you to believe that you are exactly where you need to be, even if it feels like you are standing still while the rest of the world is sprinting. Think of it like the roots of an ancient tree. You don't see the work happening underground, the way the roots push through the earth, finding water, finding stability. It looks like nothing is happening on the surface, but underneath, a foundation is being built that will hold the tree through 100 winters. That is what your life is right now. If you are waiting, if you are searching, if you are healing, you are not wasting time. You are building your roots. You are preparing your soul to hold the kind of love that lasts, the kind of love that doesn't snap when the first storm hits. But here is where the ache comes in. We live in a world that sells us on instant gratification, on the idea that if it isn't easy, it isn't worth it. We are told that waiting is a failure and that being alone is a symptom of something wrong. I have felt that shame. I have sat in the quiet of my own home and felt the sting of that societal judgment, wondering if I was missing some secret code. But that is the lie we are sold to keep us distracted. The truth is, patience is not passive. Patience is an active, burning desire to honor your own heart enough to wait for what is true. What if you viewed your current season, whatever it may be, not as a waiting room, but as a sanctuary? What if you took this time to get so comfortable with your own company, so deeply acquainted with your own soul, that when love does arrive, it isn't an escape from yourself, but a celebration? I've learned that the people who have the most beautiful, enduring connections are the ones who were happy before they found each other. They didn't need the other person to fill a void. They invited them to share an overflow. That is the magic of timing. It arrives when you have finally become the person you were always meant to be. Look at me when I say this. You are not falling behind. You are simply being prepared. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every season of silence, it is all refinement. It is teaching you what you value, what you can no longer tolerate, and what truly makes your heart sing. If you had found what you wanted years ago, would you have been ready for it? Would you have had the depth to appreciate it, the strength to sustain it, the wisdom to protect it? Maybe, but maybe you needed these years to become the kind of person who could hold that level of connection without breaking. There is a peace in this realization, a quiet surrender that feels like taking off a heavy coat you didn't realize you were wearing. You can stop looking at your watch. You can stop measuring your life against the milestones of others. Your journey is uniquely yours, and the timing of your love is a symphony that is being written specifically for you. It will happen, not when you demand it, but when you are ready. And when it arrives, you will look back at all this wasted time and realize that every second of the wait was essential. Before you go, I want you to make a promise to yourself. Promise that you will stop treating your life like a race. Promise that you will lean into the beauty of the not yet. What if you spent this time falling in love with your own curiosity, your own resilience, your own capacity to dream? What if you treated yourself with the same patience you would offer a dear friend who is going through a hard time? That is the path to true intimacy. It starts with being kind to the one you see in the mirror. Can you give yourself that permission? Can you trust that the timing is and has always been exactly as it should be? We have talked about the architecture of your vulnerability and the discipline of your presence, but there is a hurdle we must address, something that stops most of us before we even begin. It is the fear of being seen, not just the polished, curated version of yourself you show the world, but the real, pulsing, messy truth of who you are when no one is watching. Have you ever felt that flicker of terror, that moment where someone gets a little too close to the truth of you, and your immediate instinct is to pull back, to deflect, to make a joke, to hide? I know that instinct. I have lived behind that wall for more years than I care to count. The reason we fear being seen is that we have been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to our utility, our charm, or our ability to be together. We think that if someone sees our grief, our confusion, or the parts of us that still feel like a lost child, they will decide we are too much, or worse, not enough. But here is the confession I've only recently come to understand. The very things you are most afraid of revealing are the exact things that make you human. And humanity is the bridge that connects us. If you hide your mess, you hide the very places where someone else can hold your hand. What if you stopped trying to be impressive and started trying to be known? There is a difference that changes everything. When you are trying to be impressive, you are performing a role, and performance is exhausting. It leaves you feeling hollow at the end of the day because even if the world applauds, you know they are applauding a character, not the person behind it. But when you are being known, you are simply existing in your truth, and that is a relief that words can barely capture. It is the feeling of finally putting down a heavy suitcase you have been carrying for miles. Look at me when I say this. The right people are not looking for perfection. They are looking for a soul that resonates with theirs. They are looking for someone who isn't afraid to say, I don't know, or I'm hurting, or I'm scared. That honesty is magnetic. It draws people in because it gives them permission to do the same. When you take the first step and show your true face, you are effectively giving everyone around you a masterclass in bravery. You are creating a space where it is safe to be honest. Is that not the kind of world you want to live in? But the terror remains, doesn't it? That nagging voice that says, if they knew the real you, they would leave. I want you to challenge that voice. Think about the people you love most deeply. Do you love them because they are untouchable, perfect beings? Or do you love them because you know their struggles, their quiet failures, and the way they still try to be kind even when it hurts? You love them in their completeness. You don't filter out the parts that are hard to look at. Why then do you think you are any different? Why do you think you are the only one who needs to be flawless to deserve love? This is where the mirror shows us something new. The mirror doesn't just show you what you look like, it shows you what you are willing to embrace. If you cannot look at your own imperfections with kindness, how can you expect someone else to? We treat our own vulnerabilities like stains we need to scrub away, when in reality, they are the stories that give our lives texture and depth. They are the cracks through which the light gets in, just as the poet said. When you hide your cracks, you are blocking the light. Before you go, I want to leave you with this. You are far more lovable in your honesty than you could ever be in your perfection. You are a work of art that is still in progress, and there is such beauty in the unfinished edges. Don't hide them. Own them. Carry them with the grace of someone who knows they are enough, exactly as they are. If you could stop trying to edit your soul for the comfort of others, who would you be? What would you say? Who would you finally feel safe enough to love? That is the person I want you to meet today. Can you do that for me? Can you lean into the courage of simply being who you are without apology? We have spent so much time talking about the words we use, the stories we tell, and the ways we try to be seen. But there is a language that exists far beneath the surface of speech. A language that only reveals itself when we are brave enough to let the words fall away. I am talking about the sanctity of shared silence. Have you ever been with someone, a partner, a friend, or perhaps just a version of yourself you've finally made peace with, and realized that you didn't need to fill the air with noise to feel connected? In those moments, the silence isn't empty. It is heavy, rich, and humming with a kind of truth that spoken language can only ever hope to approximate. Most of us are terrified of the quiet. We fill it with music, with notifications, with the constant hum of conversation, because we are afraid that if we stop talking, we might have to confront the thoughts we've been running from. We are afraid that if we stop the momentum, the connection might falter. But I have found that true intimacy doesn't need to be constantly fueled by effort. It should be able to rest. If you can't be silent with someone, you aren't really together. You are just entertaining one another. True love is the ability to sit in the stillness and feel completely, utterly at home. Think about the times you've felt most held. Was it during a grand declaration, or was it in the quiet aftermath of a difficult day, sitting on a couch with a cup of tea, neither of you needing to say a word? The silence becomes a container. It holds your grief, your exhaustion, and your quiet joy without judgment. When you can sit with someone in the dark and feel that you are not alone in the shadows, that is where the real bonding happens. It is the silent agreement that we are in this together, regardless of what the external world is doing. But why does this feel so difficult? Because silence requires us to be present. And as we've discussed, presence is a discipline. To be silent is to be vulnerable to your own thoughts. It is to look at the person across from you and see them, really see them, without the buffer of a conversation. It is a terrifyingly honest experience. You can't hide behind your wit or your opinions or your stories. In the silence, you are just two souls witnessing each other. If you feel a sudden urge to break the silence, to fill the room with words, ask yourself why. What are you afraid of hearing in the quiet? What part of yourself are you trying to distract from? Here is a confession. For a long time, I used to think that a relationship without constant engagement was a dying one. I thought that if we weren't talking, we were losing ground. I would overperform, trying to be the most interesting version of myself, trying to ensure that the spark never dimmed. But all that did was create a performance, not a connection. It was only when I realized that a healthy, deep love is like a deep breath. You have to inhale to bring the air in, but you also have to exhale to let it out. That I understood the necessity of rest. Silence is the exhale of a relationship. It is the moment where everything settles into its rightful place. When you can share silence, you are saying, I don't need you to give me anything right now. I don't need you to entertain me or fix me or validate me. I just need you to be here. That is the most profound gift you can give another person. It is an act of total acceptance. It is the ultimate form of trust. You are trusting that your presence is enough, and you are trusting that they have the strength to be with you in the quiet. It removes the pressure, the demand, and the expectation, leaving only the reality of the connection. Look at me when I say this. You don't always have to be doing something to be worth something. You don't have to be productive or charming or articulate to be worthy of love. You can just be. When you can sit in the silence, you are practicing this truth. You are reclaiming your right to exist without condition. And when you find someone who can sit in that silence with you without feeling the need to run or fix or talk, hold on to them. They are rare. They understand the fundamental rhythm of life, the ebb and flow that allows for true, lasting growth. Before you go, I want you to try this. The next time you are with someone you care about, or even just by yourself. Allow the silence to stretch. Don't reach for the phone. Don't reach for a topic of conversation. Just lean into the space. Notice how your breathing changes, how your mind begins to settle. Notice the comfort of simply existing. It might feel awkward at first, a little bit like standing in a spotlight without a script. But I promise you, there is a peace there that is worth finding. Are you brave enough to stop talking and start simply being? We have spoken of the quiet moments, the mirror of purpose, and the strength found in silence, but we must acknowledge the reality of the weight. Love is not a smooth, paved road. It is a trek through terrain that can be unforgiving. There will be seasons where the clouds gather, where the mirrors we hold up to one another reflect back not just the light, but the sharp edges of our own frustrations and misunderstandings. People talk about love as if it is a destination you arrive at, a place where you simply unpack and stay. But that isn't the truth. Love is an act of constant maintenance. It is a garden that requires tending, especially when the frost comes. I have faced those winters. I have stood in the middle of a connection that felt like it was fraying at the seams, wondering if the effort was still worth the pain. We all have those moments, those forks in the road where it feels much easier to walk away, to retreat into the safety of our own individual lives, to decide that the vulnerability was a mistake. But here is the confession I keep tucked close. Profound growth happens right at the point where you want to give up. The resilience of the heart isn't about never breaking. It's about how you choose to put the pieces back together. Have you ever noticed that the most beautiful things in nature are the ones that have been weathered? The stone shaped by the river, the tree bent by the wind, the mountainside worn smooth by the rain. They have a story, they have character. Our hearts are the same. When we stay through the difficulty, when we choose to talk through the resentment instead of burying it, we are not just surviving. We are deepening our foundation. We are teaching each other that our commitment is not based on how easy things are, but on the depth of our resolve to see one another through the dark. But let's be clear about what this resilience requires. It requires us to abandon the idea of winning an argument. It requires us to let go of the pride that says, I have to be right. Because you can be right or you can be connected, but you can rarely be both. To be resilient is to prioritize the we over the I. It is the hard work of saying, I am hurting and I don't understand you, but I want to stay here until we find the path back to each other. Have you ever had the courage to say those words? It is the most humbling and yet the most powerful thing you can ever offer another person. We are so quick to discard things that are broken in our modern world. If something doesn't work perfectly, we replace it. If someone disappoints us, we move on. We have lost the art of the mend. But there is a Japanese practice, kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The break is not hidden, it is highlighted, made into the most beautiful part of the piece. That is what I want for your heart. I want you to see your struggles as the gold. They are the evidence that you have lived, that you have dared to care, that you have been brave enough to try. Look at me when I say this. If you are in a season of struggle, it does not mean your love is failing. It means you are in the refining process. You are being asked to shed the layers of ego that prevent you from true intimacy. It is uncomfortable. Yes, it is meant to be. You are being stretched so that your heart can hold more than it ever could before. You are learning the boundaries of your own capacity. And if you can stay present, if you can stay soft, if you can keep your heart open, even when you want to armor up, You will emerge with a depth of connection that most people never get to experience. There is a peace in knowing that you are capable of handling the hard stuff. It changes the way you look at the horizon. You stop looking for a life without storms because you know you are a lighthouse. You aren't afraid of the wind anymore. You know that no matter what comes, you have the inner resources to hold your ground and stay true to your intention. That is the kind of power that makes love indestructible. It isn't fragile. It is forged. It is resilient. It is the most beautiful thing you will ever build. Before you go, I want you to reflect on what you are currently holding on to. Is there a grudge you're nursing, a fear you're protecting, a conversation you've been avoiding? What would happen if you laid that burden down? What if you chose to approach that difficulty not as a problem to be solved, but as a lesson to be learned together? The strength you are looking for is already inside you. It is the strength to be kind when it is difficult, to be patient when it is frustrating, and to be brave enough to stay. Can you offer that to your life today? Can you trust that you are resilient enough to handle whatever this chapter brings? We have traveled a long way together, from the first tentative steps of vulnerability to the hard-won strength of a resilient heart. We have peeled back the layers of the performance we call living to uncover the raw, beautiful reality of simply being. As we reach this final space, I want you to look back at the path we've walked, not as a map to follow, but as a testament to your own capacity for growth. Love is not a destination you reach and then stop. It is a horizon that invites you forward, a perpetual unfolding of what is possible when two people, or even just one person and their own soul, decide to show up in truth. If you have learned anything from me, I hope it is this: you are enough. You have always been enough. The love you are searching for is not something you need to hunt down in the dark. It is a reflection of the light you are willing to cultivate within yourself. When you hold your own heart with tenderness, when you refuse to harden your spirit in the face of disappointment, you become a beacon. You start to attract and to create the very depth of connection that your heart has been whispering about since the beginning. Do you remember how scared you were at the start? You were worried about the masks, the timing, the risk of being hurt. But look at you now. You are still here. You are still open. That in itself is a victory. It is the most important victory you will ever claim. You have proven that you are not made of glass. You are made of something much more durable, something that can bend under the weight of life and then spring back, ready for the next sunrise. You have learned that the mirror of love is not just a way to see another. It is a way to see the infinite possibilities within your own reflection. But before I let you go back to the rhythm of your own life, I have one last confession. The secret to all of this, the secret to the peace, the intimacy, the strength, is not found in any grand philosophy. It is found in the simple, quiet act of choosing. Every single day, you have the choice to live from a place of fear or a place of trust. You have the choice to armor up or to let your light shine through your cracks. You have the choice to demand perfection or to celebrate the beauty of the human, messy, glorious process of becoming. Choose love. Choose the vulnerability that feels like a risk, because that is where the life is. I want you to hold this feeling, the quiet that we have shared, the recognition that you are not alone in your longing, the knowledge that your journey has meaning. Carry it with you into the noise of the world. When you feel the urge to retreat, remember the strength of your own heart. When you feel the pressure to be someone you are not, remember the sanctity of your own truth. You are the architect of your own impact, and you are the only one who can decide what kind of love you will welcome into your life. Make it a love that honors your depth. Make it a love that knows how to stay in the silence. Look at me one last time. In this space we've created, you have everything you need. You have the courage to start, the patience to wait, and the resilience to endure. You have the capacity to be seen and the wisdom to see others. You are a work of art, constantly being refined, constantly being polished by the experiences of your life. Do not be afraid of the journey ahead. It is yours, and it is beautiful, and it is leading you exactly where you need to go. So go. Walk forward with your heart wide open. Be the person who dares to be real in a world that is so often fake. Be the one who offers a hand when others are pulling away. Be the one who believes in the goodness of connection, even when it feels like a lonely climb. Trust that you are worthy of a love that reflects the greatness of your own spirit. And whenever you feel the shadows creeping back in, whenever you feel the doubt begin to whisper, come back here. Come back to this truth. You are loved, you are capable, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. May your heart remain a place of refuge and a source of light. May you find the people who recognize your worth before you even have to ask. May you have the courage to walk away from anything that asks you to be less than you are. And may you always remember that the love you are looking for has been waiting for you to recognize it. All along, you have everything you need. Now, go and live it. Go and love it. Go and be it. This is your life. And it is and always will be more than enough.